Sharpiegate, the latest conspiracy theory. And I got to say, it doesn't seem to be all that legitimate. And let me explain for you what is happening. To the best of my understanding, a video emerged where someone said that they were giving out Sharpies, markers, instead of pens. And because of this, many conservatives who were going to vote in person in Arizona had their ballots disqualified. I do not believe that is true. I've never heard this. And officials in Arizona have said, no, Sharpies are actually better. From this one video, we've started seeing a ton of people posting that they're disenfranchising people. And let me just stop and say, all you need to do is you need to go to the official Board of Elections website for Arizona. Check to make sure your vote is counted. Everyone should do this, no matter where you're from. Figure out how you do it. Make sure your ballot has been counted. Forget any story about Sharpies. Forget any stories about, people sneaking away with bins of votes. Make sure your vote is counted. If it's not, then you can, seek some kind of remittance or some kind of correction. Let's read the story. We got PolitiFact. Now, mind you, I am not the biggest fan of PolitiFact. They are fairly biased. Let's read what they say, but I do have another source. From PolitiFact, voters in Maricopa County were forced to vote using Sharpie pens that aren't read by voting machines. They say, the Sharpie, a pen its manufacturer describes as born for unique, unruly, courageous, outrageous self-expression that never, ever fades from glory. Okay, thank you, PolitiFact. Has made its mark on the 2020 presidential election. In an election night Facebook post labeled, tonight's voting shenanigans, a woman in Maricopa County, Arizona, where Phoenix is the county seat, appears to be being interviewed, but it's not clear by whom. The woman claims she witnessed inside her polling place election workers forcing some voters to use Sharpie permanent markers to mark their ballots, and that those ballots were not being read by the voting machines. The suggestion from the man questioning the woman was that this was an effort to block the votes of people supporting President Trump, since people voting in person on Election Day have been considered more likely to support Trump over Biden. The AP called Arizona for Biden early on November 4th, reporting that he sealed his victory in the state due to his performance in Maricopa County. Other media outlets have yet to call the race. So this is just the AP. We have not confirmed Arizona for Joe Biden. And the Trump campaign says that when all the votes are counted, Trump will win. Keep that in mind. The post was flagged as part of Facebook's efforts to combat false news and misinformation on its news feed. It turns out Maricopa County Elections Department was prescient about what some are calling Sharpiegate. On October 24th, the Elections Department posted a YouTube video labeled, "Can I use a Sharpie on my ballot? Maricopa County voters can use a Sharpie to mark their ballot." By November 4th, it had more than 1,000 views. Not very many. An animated figure named Phil the Ballot introduces the video. The narrator says, "Did you know you can use a black or blue pen or Sharpie to fill out your ballot in Maricopa County? The new tabulation equipment only reads the oval, so bleed-throughs are not a problem. At the vote center, you may notice fine tip Sharpies are used. That's because it's the fastest drying ink and works best on the tabulation equipment. If you're filling out your ballot at home, you can use blue or black ink with a ballpoint pen or Sharpie. Just don't use red ink. The tabulation equipment cannot read red." In other words, the Sharpie is actually the preferred pen for filling out ballots in Maricopa County. The claim is inaccurate. We rate it false. Now, I'm no fan of PolitiFact, so I decided to pull up a second source. This is azfamily.com, powered by CBS 5. Sharpies will not invalidate your ballot, Maricopa County officials say. I'm also no fan of establishment mainstream press, but this is local news. I did all of this on purpose because I want to make sure we're taking this very, very seriously. Listen, PolitiFact is biased. Absolutely. There was one thing where Bernie Sanders said a claim about inner city youth unemployment, and they were like, it's mostly true. Trump said the same thing. It's mostly false, because both of those, what does it mean, mostly true or mostly false? You see, they're biased. But I want to show you what they're saying. They break down the story. And then I want to show you a local news outlet, because while the national news outlets tend to be fairly bad, and why? New York-based employees tend to be far left progressive types. I can show you. AZ Family, powered by 3 and CBS 5, is a local news outlet. And they're citing Maricopa County officials. Okay, if you want to still say that there's fraud going on, then the next assumption would be, are the Maricopa County officials lying? Look, man, Occam's razor suggests, in my opinion, it makes sense Sharpies would do a better job. Here's what they say. There has been quite a bit of speculation on whether voters should have used Sharpies to fill in their ballots in Maricopa County. Social media posts are being circulated in the Phoenix area saying that if anyone used a Sharpie to fill out their ballot, their votes could be tossed. To set the record straight, Arizona's family spoke to Erica Flores, spokesperson for the Maricopa County Elections Department. Flores said voters can use one of three types of writing utensils: black pen, blue pen, and Sharpie. You read that correctly. Sharpies are allowed. That's because the new tabulation equipment counts votes in such a way that bleed-throughs are not a problem. Not only are Sharpies accepted when filling out a ballot in Maricopa County, they are preferred. That's because Sharpies have the fastest drying ink. The one color you do need to worry about is red. So I read all this already. Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich announced on Wednesday that his office had received hundreds of voter complaints about Sharpies at polling locations. Brnovich is asking for the Maricopa County Election Department to investigate the claim that Sharpies may have caused ballots to be rejected, spoiled, or canceled. However, we have a post here from 3/49, November 3rd. Did you know, from Maricopa County Elections Department, did you know we use Sharpies in the vote centers so the ink doesn't smudge as ballots are counted on site? New offset columns on the ballots mean bleed through won't impact your vote. Find a location before the polls close. Then they have this video here. Can I use a Sharpie on my ballot? Listen, the reason why I do not believe this, if you think Maricopa County officials are lying to you and they're questioning your vote, you need to do only one thing. Check to make sure your vote has been counted. That's it. We don't need conspiracies. We don't need to think that the county officials are cheating or anything like that. You just need to make sure your ballot was counted, and every single person should do this, period. I'll tell you what, if everyone counts their ballots and makes sure that they're correct and legitimate, then we should be good, right? There are other things to be concerned about. We are going to see very serious legal battles. That's the best I can do for all of you. But listen, if you really believe that giving out Sharpies was an attempt to steal the election for Joe Biden, why not believe that literally any other polling place in any other city is secure? I don't know what to tell you. Some people are just not going to trust this process, and it's going to be bad. I'm already hearing from many conservatives that their firm belief is that Trump can't lose. And I mean it. I'm hearing it. They're saying no matter what happens, they are going to cry foul and accuse the Democrats of cheating. Listen, man, I think the Democrats have played dirty games. I think changing the rules of the election was, in my opinion, cheating. YouTube's probably going to ban me for saying that. But the only thing I'm really concerned about is, did a human being actually vote? Did the human being's vote get counted properly? And is it within the confines of the constitutional election process? Now, mail-in voting may be called into question. I don't think there's anything we can do about that now because we've already gone through all those mail-in votes, unless someone wants to invalidate the entire election, which I don't think will happen. What I think will end up happening is we're going to see a Supreme Court ruling about when ballots can be accepted. If SCOTUS rules you can only count ballots received by Election Day, I believe Donald Trump will very likely win. I think all of this stuff about Sharpie markers and whatever nonsense, I think is just going to make everyone lose their minds. But I tell you what, man, I was a kid when the hanging chads thing happened in, you remember this in Florida? It was basically like when people were punching through the ballot, like who they wanted, they were like hanging bits and then they didn't count it properly and everyone's freaking out. Oh, geez, here we go. Could you imagine if we were doing an all paper ballot with no computer database? And it's like, I want to check to make sure my vote was counted. Well, we got a massive pile of million votes. Let's start digging through and figuring out who went where and who voted for what, right? Yeah. Look, we're going to be in for a wild ride, my friends, and this is not something we need. Either you trust the various election boards or you don't. It's entirely possible that there is impropriety. I think we've already seen in Philadelphia when people kicked out a poll watcher. We've got things going crazy in Michigan. I mean, this is crazy stuff. Check this out. Luke Rudkowski posted this video where they're boarding up the windows so that people outside who are trying to watch the vote count can't see what's happening inside. He says, why are they hiding and not being transparent? Very good point. In this tweet, we can see there's like cops being called in. Poll challengers have started chanting something. I believe they're chanting, stop the count. And the reason why is because there's no Republican poll watchers. This is going to get chaotic. Maybe it's naive of me to just trust the system. My concern is not about the individuals, because I don't know how you track all of that. There's going to be some volunteers counting ballots. Some of them will probably do dirty things. What do you do? The bigger issue, I would say, is the potential for a standalone complex. If 1 out of every 100 people does something to benefit Biden or Trump, then that person wins, and it's unfair. It's simple. Ignore the conspiracies. Ignore all of this hubbub. I think Trump's lawsuit, and I think if Trump wants to file a suit about counting, I welcome it. If Joe Biden does, I welcome it as well. We want to make sure we get a clean legal ruling on this. Just please make sure your vote counted. That's it. I'll leave it there. I got one more segment coming up for you in a few minutes. Stick around, and I will see you all shortly.